We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the Huddle fire with no with D-Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.
So how you been, man? Where you at? You in Ohio now?
Yeah, so I'm based in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is. I've been here for a little over 4 years now. Graduated from San Diego State in May of 2017. And then 9 days later after graduation, I was on a flight to Cincinnati, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. And for people that don't know, we on the 510 Huddle podcast right now. I got my guy, one of my old high school teammates, and now he works at Pro Football Focus and for the college level, right?
Yeah, both college and the NFL. Yep.
Okay. My guy Austin Gayle, man, and I'm even more excited now. I didn't know you do NFL as well, so we could really talk some shit because that's kind of my lane. My co-host that couldn't make it today, he's out for business. He actually is big on college football, so he had a lot of questions for you. But I got a couple of them here for you, Gayle. But let's start from the beginning, man. So you did you go straight to San Diego? You said San Diego State or San Diego?
Yeah, so I went to San Diego State. Yeah, graduated.
You went there straight. Okay, that's all I was about to ask you. You went there straight from Castro?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Okay. That's what's up, man. What you remember most about them high school years, man, with football?
Dude,
you was 2 years. You was 2 years or 1 year older than me, Gayle.
I think I was two. I've been 2 years older.
You class of 12?
Yeah, I graduated 2012.
Okay, I'm 14. So okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Who was your seniors?
Yeah. My seniors, John Marsh,
Morris, I know Morris.
Alex, we had John Hurtado at right tackle, played right next to me.
Okay. Quick story on Marsh before you keep going. His little brother that ended up being my favorite. You know, I play running back. Matt Marsh ended up being my favorite offensive lineman throughout high school. Me and him both got a bunch of awards together, but that was my guy. He was my center.
Yeah, Matt Marsh was sweet, man. Matt Marsh was cool. Played with Matt.
I know John too, though. I remember John. Yeah.
Matt Tidney, the Cardozas. We both those guys on there.
Okay.
David Valderez, the linebacker.
Dave, I remember Dave. That's my boy. I need to get Dave on. I was trying to train with Dave like late into my college career. I had seen he picked up training in Hawaii, I think, and I was trying to get a training session in with him.
Yeah, I saw he's out in Hawaii now, which is awesome. I mean, that looks weird.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, I still talk to Coach Nick all the time. I actually just went out to eat with him probably like a week ago.
Oh, nice.
Went out to eat. Big guy. He's doing well. He's about to get married, man. So I see a smile on his face all the time now. It's completely different from when he was coaching.
Absolutely.
When he was coaching, it was like he was miserable.
Hard-nosed, dude. Hard-nosed coach, man. He was a lot of fun, though. I think there was a lot of reasons why Cache Valley football was actually like fun to even watch was because of Coach Nick, which was cool.
Man, him and Coach Mo, man, come on. Those two guys, they were legit for sure. Let's talk about San Diego State. How was your time at San Diego State and what you majored in?
No, I absolutely loved it, man. I majored actually in elementary education. I wanted to be a math teacher originally. I kind of wanted to pursue that, but then football. I mean, I loved it, and I didn't want to leave it. I think I obviously wasn't going to pursue playing college football. I thought it was a little bit too small for that, so I started to do actually a little coaching. I coached my first year in San Diego at a high school. I was doing strength and conditioning coaching for Kearney High School in San Diego, and then. I kind of looked at it and I was like, you know what, I can continue to do this, but it's going to be very difficult to kind of work my way up as a coach, having not played in the NFL or even playing in college football. So I obviously had a passion for writing and a passion for journalism. And I said, you know what, let's try it. And I started my own website and kind of worked that opportunity into more opportunities, got some internships here and there, added a minor in journalism at San Diego State. And that kind of led to where I'm at now. I think a lot of it was just like, hey, I want to work in football somehow. I'm going to do everything I can to do it. And that's kind of how it all worked out.
Sounds good, man. What was it? Any particular situation or event that happened where, like you just said, you wanted to do something around football, but was it anything that happened or occurred that made you like go into that direction? Like, oh, I'm gonna do the media, this space instead of
I think the biggest thing,
anything else.
Yeah, the biggest driver I think was obviously I wanted to work in football, and it felt the most attainable. It felt like, hey, like I can actually do this. I think I can actually do a really good job here. I don't think I can be a great player. I don't think I can be a great coach, but I think I can be a great journalist. I think I can be a great content creator in the media. So that's why I felt like I had the highest ceiling there. And then what really kind of convinced me is just how quickly the industry kind of picked me up. I think I moved really, really fast. I started my own website. 3 months later, I was working for 2 or 3 other websites. I got internships with Fox Sports San Diego. I was working as a writing tutor. I was the sports director at San Diego State's radio station, a sports editor at the newspaper. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like snowballing into something legit. And then when I was graduating, I had a handful of offers to do, sports writing around the country, including here at PFF.
So all that, everything you just ran down, that all was happening while you were still in school?
Exactly. Yeah. It was right when I was cool. Because I think a lot of me realized it's like, hey, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to really press the gas pedal down. It's a really competitive industry. Everyone and their mother wants to talk football. Everyone and their mother wants to talk about sports all day long. To get paid to do it is obviously very difficult as well.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. What was it like? What was like that first? Or no, excuse me. With your first website you did, the first within the first couple months, what was like the base around that website? What were you covering on?
Yeah, that was called thedraftpulse.com. I was a really big fan of the draft. I thought, analyzing college football players and their prospects going into the NFL, I thought would be a lot of fun, and it was. I think that first draft I covered was the Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley draft, which I think was 2015. And I think that's when I first was writing articles. The articles were terrible. No one read my website, but it was a lot of fun. I think it was something that I really enjoyed. And then from there, I just kind of researched other opportunities. And in sports media, there's so many small kind of site content aggregators that will let you write for free to kind of pick up experience. And that's what I did all the way through college. And then eventually it led to a paid opportunity, and I kind of leveraged that into more paid opportunities as I kind of progressed forward.
Okay, man. Yeah. So since draft class is your thing, I'm gonna definitely have to have you go over my Eagles draft class. I'm an Eagles fan, man. So we're gonna have to go over that in a few. So hold on. Let's start here. So you kind of already talked about. I had a question here. How did you get into PFF? But you kind of already talked about that. But let's talk about how was that experience itself, just working there for Pro Football Focus.
Dude, it's been absolutely phenomenal. I can't thank PFF enough for the opportunity they've given me. I think it's when I was graduating, there was a lot of opportunities to potentially work at newspapers. And while, it could have been a good experience for me, newspaper industry is obviously, fading, if not dying altogether. And I think it would have been very difficult to work at a company, say a newspaper outlet or a publisher, a print publisher, where your goals aren't to grow significantly, but rather stay alive, stay afloat. At PFF, it's still largely a startup and a company that wants to grow really fast and make moves and compete with ESPN and compete with NFL media. And that energy, that competitiveness, I think is something that I take to. It's the reason you like football in general. It's the reason you like sports. People want to win. I think here at PFF, they really, really want to win. They want to be aggressive with how quickly they grow. And I took to that energy. I took to that culture, and they've been really helpful with me, moving forward in my career as I kind of identified, my strengths and so forth.
Got you. So clearly you have a background in journalism as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Once you get to the point where you're on the TV screen, 'cause I know a lot of journalists end up getting on TV, a la Stephen A. Smith and so on. A lot of guys start out writing papers first and then transferred over. But I want to know, Gayle, is it still the same type of work once you get onto the TV screen? Is it still a lot of journalism, a lot of writing work, or no? Is it different type of note-taking type thing? How does it work?
Yeah, it's
What's the
interesting.
difference between the two?
No, I think it's interesting. I think it all comes back to, how the content is monetized. TV is monetized by how many people watch it. And not every single time are the numbers that people watch it are watching it for good information. Some people for example, Undisputed. A lot of people do not like Skip Bayless, but they watch it because they don't like it. They watch it because it's crazy. Some people don't like Max Kellerman, but they watch him because he's engaging and he says wild things. And TV benefits from people loving it and also hating it. Because you get to watch it, you get those eyeballs, and you get to monetize those commercials and those things. And I think that's kind of probably the biggest difference. When you get to TV, you need to be an entertainer. You need to be a personality. It is not. You obviously want to be accurate. You want to be delivering accurate and strong analysis, but above all else, you need to be entertaining. You need to have a personality. I mean, that's why you call them TV personalities, not so much analysts anymore. You need to be a legitimate personality that keeps people engaged and keeps people watching. Whereas with, .com and website content, a lot of the times you're writing content that's behind a paywall. You need people to like your content to get them to pay for it. They can't pay for it. You can't, no one's paying for Max Kellerman's content if they don't like it. People are paying for your content if they do like it. So I think for .com, a lot of content creators are still chasing positive impressions, whereas TV, they don't care if it's positive or negative, as long as you're watching. As long as you're watching the damn thing, it doesn't really matter. So I do think that's where a lot of the work changes, in that you need to prioritize being a personality and an entertainer so much more when you're on camera than necessarily when you are creating article content or social media content.
Okay. Sounds good. How about this? Give me your favorite interview you had so far since you've been on the screen.
Wow, that's a great call. I think I talked to Jonah Williams, who's the offensive tackle from the Cincinnati Bengals, former first rounder out of Alabama, and to hear just how much went into his craft and how much he's dedicated to being a top flight offensive tackle. When he was coming out, I'm not sure if you remember, so many people said he might have to play guard. His arms aren't long enough. And what he, how he talked about how he makes up for that was so interesting. He keeps like an Excel document of every single pass rusher he's going to go against, what moves they use the most, what moves they use the least, what do they use on passing downs, what's their counter, and how often are they winning? And like that dedication to being great at something, regardless if it's football, ping pong, or yo-yo, is always going to be really impressive to me, because I think seeing people just get that dedicated to their craft is always going to be super engaging. I think he was a very bright person. Obviously missed his rookie season due to injury and has bounced back slightly after year 2. I think entering year 3 now, I think a lot of high expectations for Jonah Williams, protecting the blind side for Joe Burrow.
Got you. Do you think, or do you still write pieces, or for the most part, you're just on air now at this point?
So I do a lot of, written content as well. I think that, I still prioritize it because it was like how I first got into it. However, a lot of my work still is, kind of managing the content team. I am the director of content here at PFF now, and also have the podcast where I'm doing a lot of, video, audio and video content for the podcast. That's been
how many times, sorry to cut you off, how much basically are you on air? Like how much do you guys shoot a week?
In season, we're probably on air, 6 to 10 hours per week is probably a good estimate. And I think that's been really, really successful. A lot of people have enjoyed the podcast when we go up to 2, 3, even 4 episodes per week. But out of season, it comes down to 2 or 1. And it's a really an opportunity to take vacations and, step away a little bit, because, the football season is 24/7 year round, but there are a couple of weeks in June, a couple of weeks in July where you can kind of step away.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm heavy on the guests right now. We're doing a lot of guest pods because not much to talk about right now. But as far as your favorite interview with Jonah Williams, besides him, give me your top 5 college quarterbacks you've seen yourself.
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, over the past few years, I think Joe Burrow.
Excuse me, not that you just only seen, that you graded. The top 5 that you graded. The top 5 that you graded.
Yeah. I would put Trevor Lawrence at number 1. I think he's the best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. I think that's a fact. I think after that, I'd probably put Joe Burrow right behind him. I think Joe Burrow was absolutely magnificent there at LSU in 2019. I'd put Kyler Murray at number 3, Baker Mayfield at number 4. And from there, that's where I think the conversation gets interesting. I started really analyzing draft prospects in 2017, obviously Baker Mayfield from the 2018 NFL draft. I think after that, some other quarterbacks that I think were wildly successful. I mean, I put Justin Fields in the conversation. I might even consider putting Justin Fields ahead of Baker Mayfield. That's how good I think Justin Fields is. I think Zach Wilson enters the conversation for me as well. I think PFF had Zach Wilson ahead of Justin Fields. But honestly, the more you look at it, I think Justin Fields might be, a better quarterback than Zach Wilson when it's all said and done. I think that's how good both those players are. But I think we've been really lucky with a lot of talented quarterback prospects coming out over the past few years. Lawrence, Burrow, Wilson, Fields, Baker, Kyler. I think all of those guys are wildly talented and then have been put in a better position to succeed. I think the NFL is changing. No more, gone are the days where you bring in a quarterback and you force him into a situation, you force him into an offense. Your offensive coordinators in the NFL are changing their offenses to fit the skill set of their quarterbacks. That's what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. You saw Brian Dable do that with Josh Allen in Buffalo, Kevin Stefanski with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. This is what Baker Mayfield can do, and this is what he can't do. Your job as the offensive coordinator in the NFL is to help him do what he can and hide what he can't. Don't force a round peg into a square hole like maybe we've seen with other quarterback developments in the past.
Got you. So how do you think? How do you feel about Baker so far? So clearly you high on him pre-draft. And you had him in your top 5. How do you feel about how his career's played out so far?
I mean, I think I've been surprised a little bit that he hasn't steadily improved. It's been up and down, but he's also dealt with a lot of turnover. Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, and now Kevin Stefanski. I think that matters, man. Like having offensive coordinator consistency matters for young quarterback development. I think that's been a part of it as well. I think you are going to see the best Baker Mayfield you'll ever see with Kevin Stefanski. Now, what is the best Baker Mayfield? Is that a top 10 quarterback? Is that a top 8 quarterback? I think he can get into the top 8 conversation, but I still think he has to prove it. I think he had one really, really good year this past year. There's a lot of reason to believe he'll continue to do that this upcoming season. But I think the Browns are smart to kind of wait on this extension. I think they're not going to extend him this offseason. And if he has another successful season, so that'd be 2 back-to-back solid years with Stefanski, then you could start to see Baker Mayfield actually shell out some cash.
I can see that. My only reservations with him being like a top, I could probably see top, I see Baker 12, 15 range. I don't know if I could put him there because I think when Baker's at his best is when they can run the ball and he can do the play act. Yeah. And it's crazy because you didn't see much of that at all at Oklahoma, of course, because, they're spread for the most part. He was best when it was just dark, quick. That he could throw. He could throw the ball. He got a nice arm. It seemed like it was dark-like throws, quick throws. But in the NFL so far, it seemed like his recipe to success has been, play action, pound on the rock, hit him over the top deep. I'm still amazed that the Odell and Baker connection hasn't popped off like I thought it would. Or what do you think?
I think you and the rest of it, the entire NFL is surprised by that because I cannot believe how much they haven't been able to be consistent. You look at his passing performance with and without Odell, it's night and day. And he's so much better without Odell. You have to hope, obviously Odell Beckham coming back from injury this year, that they can figure it out. He is a top 10 receiver in the NFL, top 12 receiver in the NFL when healthy. And I think you have to figure out how to make that work in your offense. Baker has to figure that out, and Stefanski has to figure that out.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because it's not like he's a big body with a sloppy route running or, like a late Dez Bryant late in his career. It's nothing like that. Like, he's a route runner. He's a guy that has great routes. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand how that combo doesn't work. Let's talk about the QBs from this past draft class because you was touching on them a bit earlier when you mentioned Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. I'll give you my take on it, and then I want to know your take as far as I feel like every quarterback besides my guy, because I ended up liking Wilson the most. I felt like Lance had the biggest upside. But I just felt like every quarterback fell in the right situation except for Wilson. Just because I don't like the Jets organization and how they ran, but I do like Saleh. I really like Robert Saleh, and I think he will turn the organization around. But I like Fields to Chicago. They needed a quarterback for years. Mm-hmm. Tough city. That I can see that kid fit in there. I like Lance with Shanahan. I see that offense taking a gigantic step forward. The West Coast offense that they run, it's just going to take a major jump forward from how they've been looking with Jimmy G. More quarterback runs. The run game is just going to be a little more extensive with the Niners. I love Trevor Lawrence with a fresh coach. We don't know much about him on the NFL level, but that's also could be a good thing. Guys don't have tape on them like that. So I like him with Urban Meyer. And then who I'm leaving out? Did I leave anybody out? That was all.
Mac Jones to New England is
Mac Jones to New, and I like. That's what I'm saying. So how do you feel as far as where every quarterback fell? I like every situation where they fell at except for Wilson.
No, here's a take. I mean, I think Lawrence isn't in a great situation at least to succeed out of the gate. Urban Meyer, first time coaching the NFL, and I think bringing an entirely new coaching staff. He's going to obviously enter the Jags with a new running back, Travis Etienne coming over with Clemson. Got a lot of young receivers, an unproven offensive line. I think it's going to take some time for the Jags to turn it around. I don't think that is the best situation from a supporting cast perspective. And then you look at the Jets. I don't hate the Zach Wilson fit. I think the Jets organization is turning it around. I think Robert Saleh was a fantastic hire. I think Joe Douglas this offseason made some very smart moves. Corey Davis, Sheldon Rankins, Carl Lawson. I don't think they paid too much for any of those guys. I think that was all solid moves there. I think Zach Wilson in a good spot. And then as for Lance, this is exactly where he needs to be. I think Kyle Shanahan, there's a reason they liked him over Fields. There's a reason they liked him over Mac Jones. It's because he adds a rare talent to your offense that other quarterbacks don't have. I mean, he is, built like Latavius Murray. Like he's 6'3", 225. I mean, this guy's a monster. I mean, people, because he played in the FCS, do not realize how big Trey Lance is. Trey Lance isn't Cam Newton size, but man, it's close because he's almost 6'3", over 220 pounds, 215, 220. Like that's a monster. And if they use him in the run game, it's going to be different, very different than what other people are capable of. Even different compared to Lamar Jackson. Even though Lamar Jackson's a better runner than Lance, he can't.
You know what it'd be? I think it'd be more Cam-esque, and I think it'd be even different from that, just because he's a little different from that too. I seen one stat on that kid, and that's kind of my stat that I judge, or that overall within that stat that I judge FCS versus FBS talent. Like when you're getting drafted or getting looked at to be drafted out of the FCS. Did you dominate? Like you have to dominate that level, Like I feel like you have to dominate that level. And the one stat I seen was 28-0. The last time he played a full season, he threw 28 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Yeah, that's hard to do. Damn near impossible in a full season. Yeah,
I mean that's a fantastic take. I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that with Group of 5 quarterbacks. Like an example for this upcoming season. You have Desmond Ridder, University of Cincinnati quarterback that a lot of people like for 2022. It's like, okay, you want to be a first-round pick, go win the AAC. You have to be the best quarterback in your conference. If you're going to be a legitimate first-round caliber quarterback coming out of the Group of 5, you need to dominate. And I think you saw Trey Lance do that at the FCS level. And as for Justin Fields, I think he's in an interesting situation. Allen Robinson is obviously in a really good spot. I like the addition of Tevin Jenkins. They added him in the second round. But, how much longer does Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy really have? And obviously they're going to let Andy Dalton start out of the gate. How long is that leash? Does Justin Fields not see the field until week 10, week 11? And at that point, it's going to be very difficult to evaluate him because he hasn't had a lot of opportunities to see NFL competition. So I'm interested to see how much the front office and the coaching staff shakes up after year one. Because Justin Fields could go into the Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace era, and then in year 2 be in a completely different situation, which again, Justin Fields can overcome that, but it is difficult. It is difficult to move and shift offensive philosophies as a young developing quarterback. And for Mac Jones, it's perfect. Mac Jones doesn't have to play this year. He's already a really smart, cerebral quarterback in an offense that's very complex with Josh McDaniels and a coaching staff that's not going anywhere. Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are going to be there until they retire. They have the keys to the city at this point with how successful they have been. So I do think Cam Newton probably has a medium to short leash. If he does not play well or if he gets hurt, that's another thing. The biggest if for Cam Newton is not if he's going to play well. The biggest if is can he stay healthy? This past year battled injuries and COVID. Can he overcome that? If Cam Newton plays a full 17-game season, I think the Patriots are playoff competitive. However, if he is hurt or gets banged up, the floor of their offense is so much more improved with Mac Jones instead of Jarrett Stidham. And I think that's something that the New England Patriots like in having Mac Jones now under center and as the backup quarterback there.
Okay. I got 2 other takes. I want you to tell me how you feel on both of these. We're sticking with this year's quarterback class real quick for a few more moments. Fields and Lance. My hot take with Fields is I believe at some point in the season he will start. Do you agree with that? Because I believe Nagy is in the contract year, like you said. Like we need to see him and Pace. They need to show some results this year, some production this year. I think at some point in time, early in the season, I think Fields gets in. I think Fields actually ends up starting and taking over for that team.
I want to agree with you, and I think I ultimately do. But I think the only counter argument that makes sense to me is that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace want to keep their jobs. We understand that. Is it more likely that they keep their jobs if Andy Dalton plays every year and they can say, hey, you haven't seen Justin Fields yet, give us another year? Or do they play him and say Justin Fields starts slow like he could because he's a rookie? Then it's going to be so much harder for them to keep their jobs. Not only did Andy Dalton not play well, Justin Fields didn't play well, you guys are gone. That, in my opinion, makes it to where maybe Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are like, hey, let's go Mahomes with this. Because Matt Nagy was there with the Chiefs when Mahomes only played 1 game. Alex Smith played that entire season. You could see Andy Dalton play the entire season, then go like 9-8 or whatever, and then say, hey, give us another chance at 2022. We're going to give Justin Fields the keys. He's ready. And then they get another opportunity. I think that's a possibility. However, if, say, Andy Dalton starts the season out 0-4, they're going to have to pull. The fans, the media, everyone's going to be putting Justin Fields in the game.
Yeah, I just see at some point you got to play the kid because even if he doesn't pan out or show like he's a rookie. He's a rookie at the end of the day. So if he doesn't produce right away, if I'm pacing Nagy, I'm like, well, can we get the extra year anyway? It's our rookie. Let's say best case scenario, which should be, I think he should show promise throughout the season. We can say, hey, this is our draft pick, young rookie quarterback. He showed promise throughout the season. He had to show flashes throughout the season. He even got to show promise. He just showed flashes throughout the season. Let us get this second year back with the same type of crew in his ear, the same guys in his ear, and let's see what we can do in year 2 with. But let's move. The other guy I want to ask you about is Lance. My hot take with this one is, and I actually switched because a couple months ago I felt the opposite. But I think now I believe once we get into camp, Trey Lance will be the starter week 1 for the Niners. Yeah. What you think?
I think Trey Lance is going to be the starter week 1. I would be absolutely stunned because it's different than the Bears situation where Justin Fields, there could be conversation where he's not ready, and Andy Dalton they brought in to be the starter. They signed him this offseason to legitimately be the starter. I think there's opportunity for Andy Dalton to potentially start there. For the Niners, they already know what Jimmy G is. I mean, they don't have to go into this season and they're not testing anything. Okay, they know what Jimmy Garoppolo is capable of, and they know what they've got in Jimmy Garoppolo. What they need to find out is what they have in Trey Lance. And I think he gives them a higher ceiling than what Jimmy Garoppolo is capable of, as we've seen, in years past. I ultimately think that Trey Lance is a starter. And I think the other reason for it, too, is that the offense will be completely different with Jimmy G versus Trey Lance. And you don't want to create 2 offenses, where Jimmy G has one and then Trey Lance has the other, and then, you have offenses learning 2 playbooks. With the Bears, Dalton and Fields will largely play the same playbook. I don't think you need to, obviously Fields is a more capable runner. Maybe you mix more runs in, but Lance, I think, has to do completely different things than what Jimmy G is going to do. So I do think that Trey Lance should be and will be the starter week 1.
Okay. And then all right, this is my last question on this past QB class. Give me your analysis on Wilson, because like I said, I don't watch much college football. I'm a big NFL guy. But I seen a few YouTube clips of Wilson early on when the draft, probably towards the end of the season, right before they started doing draft talks. And this is before his pro day. This is before the pro day at his school or whatever when he made the throw. I just seen the highlight clips and I was just like, I love him. I was like, I love him. Like, he's running around making plays. A lot of it was off script, so I was wondering, like, can he just make his reads and just, can he perform on script? But I just felt like he had a shitty line, and he's still playing incredible. Like, he was just making some crazy throws, and I was like, I'm not gonna say he has Pat level talent, but he was making some Pat Mahomes level type throws. Like he had that type of juice, and that's why he ended up being my favorite. I thought Lance has the highest upside, but I believe Wilson was my favorite for this draft class.
Yeah, he's
your take on Wilson.
Yeah. My take on Wilson is super talented. His arm is up there. I think Trey Lance has a stronger arm, but still Zach Wilson has a very talented arm. And I think you saw that on a lot of off-platform throws with BYU, a lot of vertical throws as well. He pushed the ball downfield, man. And when you have the highlights that he had targeting players down the football field, I think a lot of people will take to that. I also think that, it's going to be interesting to see. My biggest concern is, can he do it, against NFL caliber competition? Because you saw in that Coastal Carolina game, even though he played well, didn't win that football game. That was some of the best competition they saw. And even if you go to the year prior, because 2019 was really, or 2020 was really his best season by a long shot. 2019, he did not play well. Obviously, coming off an injury, I think he hurt his shoulder. But still, it's a 1-year sample size of really, really sick play against mediocre competition. It's going to be a lot different in the NFL. You're going against NFL caliber competition every single week. I would not be surprised if there's a little bit of a learning curve for him out of the gate.
And can he hold up? That's another question. Like you said, with the injury thing, and like I said, he kind of plays like Pat as far as throwing with from off platform throws and whatnot. Can he hold up? Pat's a little bigger and thicker than him. This guy seems like, he's like 6'1". He's pretty small. It looked like he's kind of skinny. He's like 6'1", maybe 200 or something. Doesn't look that big.
Yeah, Wilson. No, I think he's around 205, 210. Maybe with a full gallon of water. Okay. Drinking a lot of water.
Have you heard about the high school quarterback? I think he's going to Bama, the Bryce Young kid.
Yeah. He's a stud.
What's your take on him?
He hasn't thrown a pass yet, but I think a lot of the right people are excited about him. I think obviously Bama doesn't, rebuild, they reload. I mean, this thing's a monster. I think they're bringing in another talented kid.
Gayle, I heard the same thing. He hasn't played in 4 years or hasn't started a game. That's what the guy that sent me his profile was like. He hasn't started a game yet, but he's going to Bama. I was like, what? I was like, he hasn't started a game yet. I don't understand that. What, he been killing at camps or something?
Yeah, no, he's coming out of high school. He's a star. I think he's also a former 5-star recruit. I mean, he's a big armed, athletic kid. And I think that's all you need. I mean, college football, the best quarterbacks are usually the ones that are most talented from an arm talent and athleticism perspective. That's what Fields was. That's what Lance was. Obviously, Zach Wilson. You're going to see the kid from Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei. That kid's got a freaking monster arm. Those are the guys that's a legitimate edge in college football. If you can get one of the few human beings on the planet that have rocket arms and good athleticism, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a lot of success on the football.
Definitely. That's the new wave, man. That's kind of the new thing at quarterback. And if you see, you know the proof is in the pudding when it's shot up to the NFL level with guys like Deshaun Watson, Pat Mahomes, and whatnot. You got to have a guy that can throw the ball and be mobile. You got to. That's what you need. Gayle, how do you feel COVID will affect this upcoming football season?
I think the biggest effect, honestly, will be, last year, these rookie quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, even in college and the NFL, young quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and even young college quarterbacks did not play games with full stadiums. I think that's going to be an impact. When you go on the road and that thing's rocking, it's a lot different, and the pressure is a lot different when those stadiums are full. So I think that's going to be pretty impactful. I also think you're going to see teams really push for vaccinations, which I think is smart. Obviously, you need to be pushing for vaccinations so that way COVID is not negatively affecting your schedule and not forcing you to forfeit games. Because I don't think the NCAA is rescheduling anything this year. I think a lot of it's going to be forfeited games. If your team can't show up, you're going to forfeit and take some L's.
Okay. And then how do you feel about Jackson State and Coach Prime and them down there? What you think Coach Prime going to end up doing down there this season?
Who was that?
Jackson State with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they are going to continue to recruit out of the freaking gym, man. That's the biggest thing. Recruiting matters so much in college football. Fun fact, the team with a lot of athletes is going to have a clear edge in college football. And I think he's done already a really good job at recruiting talent there because obviously he's a polarizing person and a guy that has – there's a lot of reason you want to go play for Jacksonville State right now. So I do think that you're going to continue to see them out-recruit compared to what they've done in previous years. And that ideally leads to a winning culture so much that they can turn themselves into a powerhouse in that, obviously, that subdivision.
Okay, man. Yeah, I'm just hoping he can kind of, level that playing field between those bigger schools versus the smaller schools, man. I'm hoping he can get that accomplished. Yeah. Name me. I know you just named some. I think those are high school guys that's coming into college. But name me some college quarterbacks for this upcoming season we need to watch out for.
My guy that I've been touting all off season is the Clemson kid. DJ Uiagalelei. I think the comp I have for him right now is, and I know a lot of people are going to get upset at this, but college Jamarcus Russell. I know Jamarcus Russell wasn't good in the NFL. But it was all off field. It was he couldn't pay attention. He was lazy. But on the football field at LSU,
rocket on.
Marcus Russell was absolutely absurd. I mean, he won the championship, the BCS championship for a reason. I think 2007. Like I think DJ Uiagalelei can be that freaking good. He can be that good, throwing the football down the field. And he obviously has better work ethic. And I think he's going to be what the Raiders thought Jamarcus Russell could be in the NFL. I think that's how
good. Is he that big? Is he that big too?
He's a monster. He's huge. I think at 15 years old, he was 6'5", 215 or something. The dude's a monster. He's a big dude. He's a big dude. So I do think that DJ Uiagalelei is going to be the name to watch. I think other guys, Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina, Dylan Gabriel, UCF, Mackenzie Milton coming back from the gruesome leg injury, transferred to Florida State. That'll be another fun one. Spencer Rattler, obviously, at Oklahoma. Sam Howell at UNC. Those are all kind of the big names, the polarizing names I'm going to be looking for. Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati. JT Daniels, Georgia. Matt Corral with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Oh, my goodness. That offense was absolutely absurd this past year. Lane Kiffin in his bag. I do think that we're going to see a lot of really the college football's passing the ball on early downs at higher and higher rates every single year because it's just such a clear edge with the spread option, spread offense. You are attacking space offensively like no other year we've seen. I think that obviously involves a ton of really talented skill players and passing game coordinators and offensive coordinators that are prioritizing that.
Give me your top three quarterbacks, Top 3 players that you've ever seen, not graded, that you ever seen, college football players that you ever seen that you think would have made the most money if they had the NIL. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, and this is a cheap answer, but Trevor Lawrence would have made millions of dollars. He would have made he would have made millions of dollars a year at Clemson if given the opportunity. That would have been absurd. You know, another player, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson would have made millions of dollars if he was given the opportunity there at Louisville. I think quarterbacks are where you have to go because they're obviously the ones that are on TV. I think it's always going to be quarterbacks there. I think I'm trying to think. Reggie Bush, oh my goodness, Reggie Bush, USC would have made so much money. Vince Young. I mean, these guys that like legitimately were on the cover of college football games. Those are the guys Tebow would have made probably the most. I think Tebow could have easily made the most. And even though he wasn't the most talented of all those guys I've mentioned, he had the biggest draw. You know, Tim Tebow, when he signed with the Jaguars, was the highest selling NFL jersey for like 2 weeks. That's absurd to me. Which again, you go back to college football, I think on jersey sales alone, Tebow might have been the highest paid athlete on the NIL rules.
That's crazy. It would have been tough between him. Oh, we can't leave out Johnny football.
Yeah, no, Johnny would have made a lot of money too.
In Texas, he built that damn stadium.
I know.
The stadium was built off him.
I know. I mean, what's going to be interesting to follow this year is big games and how big games impact NIL. You think about Johnny Manziel's game against Alabama. That you come out of a game like that. I mean, there's going to be so many people looking to send you money and try and get you on TV and try and get you on commercials and these things. I think, you talk about like, what's your Heisman moment? It's going to be what's your NIL moment? What's your NIL moment where people are like, oh my gosh, I need to pay that guy. Like you talk about like big catches and pick sixes. I think it's going to be very interesting for sure.
Okay. Give me your top 3 Heisman candidates for this upcoming season.
All right, number 1, DJ Uiagalelei, Clemson. Spencer Rattler at 2, Oklahoma, and I think Sam Howell at 3. I think those. Well, Sam Howell actually. The more I think about the offense, I just talked to Mac Brown, UNC head coach. And I think they're replacing so many skill players on offense that it might be very difficult for Howell to put up the numbers needed to be, a legitimate Heisman candidate. So I think you go DJ Uiagalelei from the ACC, Spencer Rattler of Oklahoma, and then honestly, maybe you throw in Emory Jones of Florida, Bryce Young of Alabama. That would be like probably my 3rd or 4th guy on that list. But I think those 2, Rattler and Uiagalelei, should be the favorites to win the Heisman early doors.
Okay. So let me so like I said, man, this is the 510 Huddle podcast. So we got to talk a little bit about our local Bay Area teams. We out here we still kind of claim the Raiders, so we got to talk about them in a second. But let's start with the Niners. We'll start with the Niners here, and I really just want to talk about draft class. So we already talked about Trey Lance. How do you feel about, and this is actually a homer, he's a little bro of mine, my guy Aaron Banks. I played basketball with his big brother, and I know his whole family. How you feel about that draft pick, offensive lineman out of Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, when he was drafted, I thought it was fantastic for the Niners because he's a guy that can play all the positions. I think he can play up and down the offensive line. When you're drafting players where he was drafted, I think you're oftentimes looking for 5-tool players, guys that can do any position, play any position, be that versatile piece. Because you look at 53-man rosters. Oftentimes you're only keeping 8, 9 offensive linemen. Some teams will creep closer to 10 or 11. But really, after the front 5, you need people that can play multiple positions. Like you can't afford to have a tackle only or a guard only type of guy. You need to bring in someone who can do it all. I think that's what Banks can do. And Niners have benefited from that. Daniel Brunskill out of San Diego State was a tight end, played guard, and now they have him at tackle. Investing in those guys that can do multiple positions really does matter. I think San Francisco understands that.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do real well for them, man. He has a basketball background too. Always been that big, or a big boy. So he's a big boy that can move, got good feet. So I definitely can see him being successful up and down the line. Let me ask you about another pick here for the Niners. Let's see if you know him. We all know the Niners need some secondary help, especially at corner the last couple seasons. Do you know anything about the Michigan kid, Ambry Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, Ambry Thomas is interesting because I do think that I wouldn't have a high ceiling expectation for him, but when you're drafting quarterbacks out of Michigan like Ambry Thomas, you have a lot of experience playing press. I think that matters. Having experience playing press coverage in that defense automatically gives you a leg up on a lot of other players that maybe play more off coverage looks. TCU runs a lot of quarters. You're going to get guys that maybe don't have experience running press. Ambry Thomas, I don't think he's the athlete you want necessarily from an outside cornerback, but still like physically and from a technique standpoint, high floor player. I could see him making an impact, but I don't know necessarily he's going to be a guy that pushes for a starting spot anytime soon. I think he's going to be more of a depth piece.
Okay. Let's move over a little bit to the Raiders. Let's talk about the Raiders draft picks real quick. Leatherwood, Alabama. What you think about the big boy, man? We know Bama usually got a great wall of China with them big boys up front. So what you think about Leatherwood?
Well, Leatherwood is another guy that can play any position. He had a lot of success at guard in the SEC. He played left guard, he played right tackle, and he played left tackle. He played them all at a high level. He's also probably seen, of any tackle drafted, he's probably seen more first-round caliber pass rushers than any team. Obviously, playing in the SEC gets a lot of opportunity going against top-flight pass rushers. So I think he's going to come in very experienced. And again, I come back to raising the floor of that offensive line. I'm interested to see, how successful Alex Leatherwood gets. I don't think he was the best tackle available to them when he was drafted. However, Colton Miller, athlete, and has developed a lot better than maybe where people expected. I think Leatherwood, long arms, could be a guy that could develop into something maybe better than expected. But out of the gate, don't be surprised if Leatherwood is a little bit, slow to develop and maybe takes a year 2, year 3 jump. I don't think he's going to be like Tristan Wirfs by any means. Tristan Wirfs had an absolutely absurd rookie season. I don't think he's going to have that caliber season. I think you wait for Leatherwood, if he does develop into year 2, year 3.
Okay. And then what about I love this pick. He was damn near my favorite safety in this past draft. What about Morig, and what does that draft pick mean and does for Abrams, and what the Raiders might do with him?
Trayvon was on my podcast. I think he's a perfect deep safety prospect for the NFL. And I think that's exactly what Gus Bradley wanted. It's exactly what the Raiders defense needed. They can't afford to play Jonathan Abrams at deep safety. It's not the position he was best at Mississippi State. It's not the best position he's at in the NFL. It's obviously going to put, Jonathan Abrams in a position to be consistently in the box. Gus Bradley runs so many one high looks. He does not have 2 deep safeties all the time. You can put Abrams in the box. He could be, that kind of additional big-bodied, hard-hitting thumper where he probably will excel the most. I think if Jonathan Abrams doesn't have a career year this year, I'd be really surprised, because obviously he's struggled playing deep safety. I think this is his year to really show up, to prove he was worth that first-round pick. Because Bradley, I'll tell you right now, is going to put him in a position to succeed. It's up to Abrams to kind of live up to the calling. So I do think it's a very young group. That's something I come back to. It's like, as good as Trayvon is, as good as Abrams is, they're young. And I think experience matters at that position. And I think the best safety the Raiders have had over the past decade is probably Charles Woodson, who was like 35. Having experience at that position matters. So I do think it's a young secondary overall. You look at Trayvon Mullen, Damon Arnett, Abrams, Morig. I mean, that's scary. It's easy to make rookie mistakes when you're young. And I think that you're going to probably see the Raiders defense again give up a lot of big plays. It's going to be a learning curve, but hopefully Gus Bradley starts to right the ship, starts to turn this thing around, because Paul Guenther obviously didn't do it. They have not had a good defense in a very long time. Probably.
I wasn't high even on the Guenther hire when they first hired. I was like, what the hell he do? I was like, what he do in Cincinnati? And I was like, and who was calling the shots in Cincinnati on defense? That was Marvin.
No, I agree. I mean, they haven't had a good defense probably since the Namdi days. I don't think the Raiders have played well since they had him at a corner. So I do think you have to start to see some positive signs, but don't be afraid. Don't be surprised if the Raiders are still bottom 20 defense this year.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm gonna put some stock in that Bradley rights the ship a little bit over time. Probably won't see it right away this season, like you said, maybe next season. But for those that don't know, Gus Bradley, that's the guy that started LOB, I believe, right before Dan Quinn. Yeah, he was with LOB.
Bradley was there in Seattle. Bradley was there when the Jags had that really good defense. He was there with the Chargers when Derwin had his best year, and Bosa and Melvin Ingram. So I think you could see, him to start to have that success. But do the Raiders have the horses to do it? It's like, Gus Bradley was great with Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor. They had Earl Thomas, Brandon Browner. Then he goes to Jags, Jalen Ramsey,
Gibson.
Miles Jack. They had Calais Campbell.
What's the other corner?
I'm trying to think of his name too. Veteran.
He's a veteran.
AJ Bouye.
Bouye.
And then he goes to the Chargers. They got Casey Hayward. They got, they've always had a lot. He's always had a lot of talent on the defense. It's been good. The Raiders don't have that. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can turn that talent into something good.
Yeah. And like I said, with this added pick with Morig, I think they got the talent. I think they got the talent on the. We're talking more so specifically on the back end. I think they got the talent. I'm happy to see Bradley there because now I think they more so got the system, the right system. They got Moorick to play that post. Like we said, Bradley likes to run a lot of cover 3 stuff, a lot of cover 3 schemes. See Moorick in that post situation, you know, that fake Earl Thomas type guy. Can have Abrams up in the box, roll up safety, box safety like a Cam Chancellor. So I'm definitely in locksteps with you on as far as I believe Abrams will have his best season this upcoming year. I believe more so Mullins to be the CB1 over Arnett, but I can see Arnett being a solid CB2. So they got the talent, and now I think they got the right system. I'm excited to see what the Raiders can do on that end. Let's talk a little bit about my Eagles though, man. I gotta ask you about my Eagles, man, because like I said, I'm an Eagles fan, so I need to know what we did right and what we did wrong. I will tell you, I love the Devontae Smith pick. I feel like we met the last couple of years. I've been pissed off on us trying to just get the speed all the time, the speed guy. And I was like, man, we just got Rager. I'm still not really sold on Rager yet, but I'm gonna give him another year. He got hurt last year. But I like the Devontae pick because I was like, man, that's what we need as far as on the offensive side. Like, we need a possession guy that can win one-on-one matchups, solid, good, great hands, just a solid possession receiver. We got enough speed. We always trying to go for a speed demon. I'm like, no, we need a true wide receiver one. I think we got that with Devontae. How do you feel about the Devontae pick?
I love Devontae Smith. I think they picked him right where I would have picked him. I think he's a very talented player. I liked him. I think he was the third best receiver in what was a very good receiver class. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith. All three of those guys picked inside the top 10 for good reason. And you're right. The Eagles don't need speed. They don't need a possession receiver. They need a guy who can get open. And Devontae Smith can get open. You know what I mean? I think Devontae Smith, if he can do anything, is he can get open. And he's been one of the most successful receivers we've seen play at Alabama. One of the most successful receivers we've seen playing college football, over the past 5-10 years. And I think that, even though I think obviously that concern with his weight, he's not a big body receiver. He's very skinny. Call him Slim Reaper for a reason. It didn't show. Where does that show up in college football? Against press, he was one of the best receivers against press coverage in college football. Contested catch situations. He was one of the best receivers in contested catch situations. It never showed up. It never showed up in those areas where he expected weight and weight room to really show up. And I obviously think that he's going to be put in a good position to succeed. I would not be surprised, now paired back up with his former teammate Jalen Hurts, for him to be the number one receiver in Philly this year. Not Rager, not Arcega-Whiteside, not Goddard or Ertz. It's going to be Smith, and I think he's going to be the best one there, and I think he's going to really contribute early doors.
Man, yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Eagles. I actually heard a good story today as far as on Ertz. I heard you mention Ertz earlier. I feel like we've been at our best the last couple of years when we had our 12 personnel on the field with him and Goddard. I just never understood why we were kind of disrespecting my guy and trying to push him out the back door. But yesterday or today, I seen something where they said he's back in training camp and he's looking like he's going to play with us this season. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm a big fan of Ertz, man. Like I said, I'm an Eagles fan. I think he's a Philly legend. He was part of the Super Bowl team for us.
No, I agree. I think the thing with Hurts is I do think that he has to improve. I think there's a lot of reason that last year to be excited. He was better than Carson Wentz. Everyone saw that. But he needs to significantly improve this upcoming season. I also think they need to leverage him as a runner. Jalen Hurts is at his best when he's running the football and running 5-10 times a game. And if the Eagles can do that, I think you're going to raise the floor of this offense and be a lot more competitive. If you lean on him as a drop back passer, it's going to be very difficult because from an accuracy perspective, he's not on par with some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL. And I also think from a decision-making standpoint, he can improve. Use him as a runner, limit his mistakes, use him very similar to how the Ravens use Lamar Jackson. I think they could have some success.
Yeah, I like him. I don't love him, man. I don't know. It's so much for me and the Eagles in that quarterback situation. I like Hurts, though. I think he'll do solid. I think a key factor for us for this upcoming season will actually be Sanders. I think Miles Sanders needs to have a consistent big year. He shows flashes, and I really like his talent, but we need him to be like a consistent every down back for us for this upcoming season if we really want Hurts to have a successful season. But I also was going to ask you about the Gainwell pick. I heard he was a diamond in the rough for his pickup out of Memphis. How is he as a running back?
I love Miles Sanders. People forget. I talked to Miles Sanders when he was getting drafted. People forget the only reason he fell as far as he did and wasn't as covered as back is because he was a former 5-star, absolute stud in high school. didn't play a lot of snaps because he was behind who? Saquon Barkley. You know, I mean, if Saquon Barkley didn't play for Penn State, people would have talked about Miles Sanders in a lot higher regard than they did. I think in Philly, he's gotten off to a slow start. He's battled some injuries, but I think across the seven, I mean, this guy is very, very talented, very athletic, needs to catch the ball better, to produce better as a pass blocker. That's something that he's talked about that he wants to improve. But running the football, when he's got space, he takes advantage of it, and I think the Eagles know that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know I gotta let you go here soon. So I got a couple of quick hitters for you. Let me but the last one I wanted to ask you was about the McPherson pick. Or no, Gainwell. I was actually also about Gainwell, the running back from Memphis. I heard he was a diamond in the rough pick for my Eagles. How do you feel about him?
Dude, Memphis has been an RB factory, you know, with Gainwell, Gibson, Pollard, Darrell Henderson. I mean, they produce a lot of really talented, explosive, pass-catching backs. And that's what Gainwell is. So Gibson was used as a receiver more than he was a running back, but has played really well at running back. Gainwell had more opportunities as a runner at Memphis, but still comes in immediately as a third down type of back, a guy that can come in and catch passes. And Miles Sanders, while he stood there, I think Gainwell can be great there really early in his career.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right, so I gotta give you this last one real quick, Gayle, that I give all my guests, man, because I know you gotta go. I want to hold you for over your time. So I want to shoot you this last question that I ask everybody. But before you answer it, you just gotta know if whatever your answer is, you gotta help us. You gotta help us with your answer. All right?
Ready. I'm ready.
Who should we have on the pod next? And if you know him, you gotta help us give us the live so we can get him on the show.
Let me think. Who would be a good guest? I kind of want to get you a 510 guest. You know, I'm thinking
whoever, man. Whoever. That's what we do it for the most part for the baby. But we didn't spread it out. We didn't have a few NFL guys. We had Kev King on last season before the season started. That was my bro. Played against him at Odell. So we didn't have a few guys on now.
Man, I mean, it would be sick to get John Marsh on. He's not doing any media now, but I mean, he's the guy. He's my guy. Let me think about some other. I'm trying to think of who would be a good guest to get on for you. I know one of my co-hosts here, one of my friends here or works here at PFF. His name's Ben Lindsay. Has a lot of talent. This guy's been here for a while. He's also doing college in the NFL. You don't know him, but a guy that's super talented here at PFF. I could try to get him on for you.
Okay, I'll take that, man. Hey, I'll take that. PFF all day. I'll take it, man. I'm not mad at it, okay? Hey, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate this more than you'll know. And, hey, I wish you health and success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Best of luck to you as well.
Yes, sir. All right, stay safe.
We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the Huddle fire with no with D-Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.